Well, Jamie, I'm so excited to have you on this. You are an ex-USC bowler. Hello. Hello, CrossFit Games athlete. And by the way, when we Google you, it says basketball player. Did you know this?
Okay. That's my main thing. I guess so. I
That's
didn't know
your
that.
main thing. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
CrossFit is a little
You're
side thing.
Yeah, just a little bit, which
Yeah.
is, I guess, why maybe you're an owner of a CrossFit affiliate. You're also a CrossFit broadcaster. I mean, I wouldn't call CrossFit little in your life, but okay, we're going with this.
Okay.
Um, and this year you qualified for semis.
Oh
That
man.
that was amazing. I
Oh.
am so happy for you, and it just seems like you weren't even really trying to qualify, and yet you did.
Yeah, that wasn't the goal. I mean, yeah, but I did it, and there's so many things that went into that, and I was like, you know what? It's down the street. Like, I gotta go. So I went. And got my butt
It's
kicked
down
by
the
all these.
street.
Yeah, it was down the street from my house, and like, yeah. But it was a great experience to be back out there again.
I bet. And so the goal now is to train for and obviously do the Masters CrossFit Games.
That is it.
All right.
Yeah, so I'm signed up. I am registered. I'm ready to go in September. So Labor Day weekend in Birmingham, Alabama. It'll be my first time competing in the Masters division, 35 to 39. I don't know why I'm 39. I'm at the very end of it. I don't know why I decided to go this year. But I just decided, like, like if I feel good, if I'm healthy, it's a blessing to be able to do this. Like, why not go and go with the best women in the world, the youngest of the age group. So
Yeah,
so
that's
I'm gonna go for it.
that's really cool. And I anyone can just Google your name and see your track record, which is extensive and amazing.
Oh,
And
thank you.
I would love to just get to know you. Like when you wake up in the morning, what goes through your head? Are you like happy go lucky? Are you full of energy? Like what is it like being Jamie?
Yeah, I'm a pretty easygoing, go with the flow, like whatever comes up, like we just roll with the punches kind of thing. Like I'm not like type A and very organized and have my everything like laid out to a T. Like I have, like my gym, and so I do go, like I get up, I eat breakfast, I stop at Starbucks. I need to stop going there. It's a little too much. But no, but then I'll stop. I'll go to the gym. I either will coach or I'll I have privates, a couple classes at the gym, and then we'll train. As of this year, like in the past, I was kind of just doing like an hour and a half and jumping into class and kind of just doing whatever I wanted to feel good. And then this year, like I did reconnect with one of my old coaches, and that's how I kind of got back into the competing scene. He was like, "You still look really great. You still are move well. If you want to make a run for the Masters, I'll help you." And I was like, "Really?" And it had been 6 years. Like I stopped competing 6 years ago, so it had been a long time since I had some guidance. I had somebody who believes in me and is going to help structure my day. I think as former athletes, you're used to you go here, you go to class, you go to practice, you go do this, you go to film, you go to weights. So it's like a structured day. And so to step away from being an athlete, I kind of lost a part of me, and it's a tough thing. I talk about it with former student athletes and trying to transition into the real world, and it's tough. But yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm back into it. I'm sometimes have double days, and then we'll be at the gym and then also doing other things. So yeah, I mean, I kind of am really easygoing, love to laugh. I think that's the key to success is just being as happy and positive. I think it's such a stressful world we live in. The more
Yeah.
everyone that comes into the gym, it's they always talk about it's the best hour of their day, and it's their happy place, and I want it to be a positive, encouraging, you come here, get all your stress out, leave everything at the door, get a good hour, whatever you can in, and yeah, so try to very positive and try to be, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it must have been hard going from really jumping into classes, kind of, going about your day, going through the ebbs and flows of training and then switching to really focusing on training and maybe stepping away from the classes. How did that feel physically and mentally?
Yeah, so what happened was I competed in 2016 individual, I competed 2018 on a team. After that, I kind of was my goal was to go one time individual, one time team. So I was check. I feel great. I kind of got into broadcast the past 3 years. I think in 2021 was when I got involved, 21, 22, 23. And so kind of was cool. Everyone's do you miss being out there, Jamie? I'm like, no. No, I am so happy to be like on the other side talking about it, and still close to it because I love it so much, but not out there dying, and so I actually, just like everyone else during the pandemic, we shut our doors. I don't know, for me, like, even though I had a key and could go in there anytime I wanted to and to, get my training in, I just felt like, no one else can do this, so I'm going to work out at home too. So I, did an hour of Zoom with everybody, and I gained 20 pounds like a lot of us. And so, it was this journey of like gaining weight and then losing weight once we opened back up. It was really crazy. Like I'm very like body conscious and body positive, or try to be. I know it's a very tough journey, but I had gained 20 pounds when we first opened back our doors after COVID. I went to back squat 85 pounds on the bar, and my back hurt so bad. And so then, but then as I like stuck with it, I was like, okay, one workout at a time, one day at a time. And slowly but surely, like the 20 pounds started like coming off with like, eating healthy and being active again, being at the gym, working out. And then, like, I'm not even joking, I was able to back squat a double at 300. And I was like, no back pain. I was like, that's crazy, like how, taking care of your health and your fitness, like, really makes a big deal, especially as we get older too. But yeah, so I was kind of just started this jam method. It was just following what I was doing to like, and former games athlete, but I still want to like, train in an hour and a half, like maybe. And so, but yeah, so to go from that to 2-hour sessions, 3-hour sessions, double days, I was like, whoa, this is crazy.
Yeah, completely. And did you change anything nutrition-wise and recovery-wise as well?
Oh man, I think those are like key. I'm known for not warming up, which I like.
You're one of those.
Oh, I'm the worst, like literally. And like but injuries are catching up to me, my shoulder, little things like that, and I'm like, oh man, I can't just like like do a couple jumping jacks and jump in. Like I don't know what it is, but yeah, definitely like taking care of my body, like for sure that. There was a point where, I was kind of doing it. I think I started in November, like training again. So November, December, January, February when the Open came around. And I thought I was okay, and I got my butt kicked in the very first workout, like kicked. And so I had a talk with my coach, and I was like, he was like, Jamie, honest coaching moment, like, are we gonna do this? Do you have to feel, And I was like, oh my god, I gotta get my shit together, And that was like clean up my nutrition, go to physical therapy, get like all these little injuries taken care of, warm up a little bit better than I usually do, and add double sessions, like my conditioning and all that stuff like that. So I did change quite a bit, starting kind of like, I guess, from November, but then again in February, like readjusted.
Yeah. So. I'm guessing you added maybe carbs, maybe a bit of protein too.
Yeah, oh yeah, like it's so funny, you don't realize how much protein you need, and I love to eat, but I realize, doing these, like when you're counting your macros or whatever, I'm like, I just love carbs and fats, like that's it.
Yes.
And protein is so hot, like I can eat as much pasta and pizza and Japanese, all kinds of foods, and then when I have to eat my like rice and chicken and broccoli, I'm like, oh, I'm so tired of eating, I don't want to eat anymore. But yeah, I mean, you have to, like, you have specific goals or things you want to do, like, and it's very interesting, like, talking about, like, I cleaned up my nutrition, my, like, physical appearance, like, I gained body fat, like, I was holding on to more fat. So, and
that's so interesting.
Oh, yeah, I was like, here's me cleaning up my diet for, like, weeks at a time, like, 6 to 8 weeks, and I looked more lean and defined before I cleaned up my diet and was working out less. But
stress.
That's why, totally. Yeah. Yeah. It's really crazy. So like, especially at the semis, I was so bloated. It was crazy. Like I just like so bloated. And then a whole week went by of no working out and eating like trash and like 5 coffees a day. My coach was like, chill a little. But, and then it like all fell off and I was like, whoa, I can kind of see my abs. So it's just like stress plays a big role in things. So
it's funny because I got some certifications in nutrition, and I'm sure, of course, you know this, and I guess this is more for the listeners, like your body can't differ between you running from a bear and you doing a CrossFit workout. Like it's the same thing. So what it's trying to do is make sure you survive. So it's holding on to that body fat as much as possible whilst pumping out adrenaline, cortisol, all that stuff. And then what
Yes.
happens is you basically stay puffy
Oh my
because you're
gosh.
trying to survive.
Exactly, exactly. That's so crazy you say that. Like running from a bear, like you know what I mean, like things like that. That's the exact thing that people are saying. It's like, yeah, you can't. It doesn't know the difference. Like, so it's
No,
nice to hear
and
you say that.
yeah, I mean, it's interesting because basically your body wants you to survive. It's
Yeah,
literally doing everything for you to survive, and you're over here probably looking in the mirror like, what the heck are you doing?
yeah, and like that's why I'm like, it's such a big difference of aesthetics and performance, and like when you get into the performance side of things and competing, like I can't care. Like from the second I walked into CrossFit, like it did two things. Like when I first got in, I was like saw Camille LeBlanc and all these women who kind of like had muscle, and I was built similar to them, and which I later realized like when I met Camille, I was like, oh, she's way smaller than me, but okay, But I was like, all these women are being praised for how beautiful their bodies are, and they made me feel so good about myself. And then we got into the competition side of things, and like then I'm next to like Katrin and Jen Smith and these women with crazy ripped abs, and I was like, I don't look like them, and so it really like the lessons I learned from that is like it doesn't matter. Like I still it doesn't what your body looks like doesn't define what your body can do, and so like even though I don't look like them or have crazy shredded abs, like it doesn't mean I don't deserve to be at the CrossFit Games competing there. So yeah, definitely like can play with your mind a little bit, and like but you have to like realize like what's important to you, what's your goals.
Completely. And I'm willing to bet that your body, the way it is whilst doing CrossFit, is different to the body you had playing basketball, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
and it's crazy because the body's basically adapting to whatever stress that you're putting on it, right?
Yeah, totally.
I'm guessing you were maybe less muscular when you were playing basketball, but did you feel faster then, or do you feel faster now?
So it's really interesting is like I was like my best friend and I that play basketball at SC, we were like got the talk about we got to lose a freshman to 15 because we put that on, and we're just soft, even though you're like playing and running up and down the court all the time, like I was kind of really soft and not really defined, and like in decent shape, but definitely when I started CrossFit, I started CrossFit to train for a WNBA tryout. My last thing before I hung up my shoes was I used CrossFit. I was doing it for about 6 months before I tried out. But during that time, I was doing it, and that was literally the 1 hour of class. I would go in, I would do the workout, whatever it said, wasn't specialized, and I would go practice with the SC team, and I was hands down like the best shape of my life. Like I always tell people, I'm like power, speed, strength, explosiveness, like went through the roof. So it's like it's and then you specialize in I went all CrossFit and no like basketball, and I was like, oh, I lost my like lateral.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely like I can tell the difference. Like I was in way, and like when I look at pictures when I first started, like I was like, oh man, I didn't have any muscles, and just like your back develops, your shoulders, your traps, like things like that. So yeah, it again it like. I mean, I kind of just go with it. I'm like, okay, well, that's what happened to my body because that's what I'm doing.
Yeah,
So,
it's
but yes,
adapting. It's completely
yeah,
adapting. And if you give it nothing to adapt to, you won't really see what it's capable of, no matter what sport you're doing, whether it's basketball, CrossFit, or other sports. It's just really interesting to me. I always try to guess what sport people do.
yeah.
I try, and I'd say I'm about 80% like right, but
Okay.
sometimes it's hard. It's to me, it's just fascinating. It's not about the body image side. It's more
Hmm.
about how fascinating the body is and
Yeah.
how it adapts to the stimulus. And
Yeah.
I guess being a like a baller myself, not
Yeah.
at your level for
Yeah, girl.
sure. And I was a
No.
I'm a power forward. There's no
Amazing.
way I can run up and down that court the way you did
No,
as a
you have
point
to
guard.
too. Because we're
Hey, I
telling you,
was
we're like, get down there.
That's true. I'm more of a wall. Let's just put it that way. I'll be your wall that kind of moves from net to net. But I would like to know what you think basketball helped you in CrossFit the most. Like, was it explosiveness? Was it speed? Was it jumping? What was it that you took from that sport and applied to CrossFit? And the reason why I'm asking this is I always say that I wish I did gymnastics
Yeah.
and was a swimmer. So I'd like to know what you think basketball helped you with in CrossFit.
There actually isn't a ton of like transfer crossover. No pun intended, because the crossover.
Yeah, like it.
But no, I do think like the plyometrics parts, like the jumping part of it for rebounds and things like that, like definitely for box jumps, for double unders, I think picking up that skill. I get shuttle runs now, like there are shuttle runs and things, and then we were talking about, we don't do a ton of lateral movement or like change of direction or like, but I guess some of it's like the quick bursts of speed, and like I think more than anything, it's more of like the mindset and the mentality you take with you, you know, like you're out there and like it's hard, like at any level playing, you know what I mean, like and it's, I think the team aspect of it too, you know what I mean? Like, everyone has to work together, you know what I mean? So you don't want to let anyone down. And in CrossFit, yeah, I guess, like, you're on your own. Like, when I went on a team, that obviously helped, knowing how to work with others towards a goal. And like, when you go through, like, tough situations, like, how are you going to handle this? How do you, you know what I mean? When things aren't going your way, when you are physically, you know, like... feel like you are just done, you know what I mean? So I think more of like the mentality side of things, and maybe a little bit of like overall athleticism, being able to like and I guess like being a point guard, like you gotta run the show, you know what I mean? And kind of like be very aware of like what plays you're running and who's going where, and like, so I guess only like chess pieces like that is like, where am I going next? Like, what do I have to do here to go to this part, to go to, you know what I mean? Like, kind of just like, I guess like the mindset of it, I guess. But,
I like that. I like that. And what do you think about wall balls? And I'll tell you why after you answer. I'm asking you this question.
I always tell everyone when they do it, they do it and they like squat down and shoot. I'm like, no, we gotta do it too. Like, it's more like a volleyball setting, I guess. I don't mind them, but you put a heavy wall ball in there and make the target higher, like a 20-pound to like a 10-foot, and it just destroys me. It's kind of like the worm. Like, I can squat all day and I feel like I'm kind of strong in my legs, but I cannot do worm squats to save my life. Like, it's just interesting, these different implements, you know? So like, make it heavier, but yeah, for the most part, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, squat down, throw it up, squat down, throw it up. Like, yeah, I guess, yeah, and it's funny. It's 9 feet, 10 feet, which is like a basketball.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I'm asking is whenever I do wall balls, I tell myself I'm playing basketball.
Nice.
That's 1 shot, 2 shots, 3 shots. That's literally what I'm telling myself. And then it actually becomes fun because it doesn't feel like I'm doing a wall ball. And that transitions into thrusters for me. I always tell like myself or anyone I'm coaching, saying, hey, thrusters are like wall balls. It's literally the same thing. So 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shots. That's literally what I'm telling myself. It does work. Granted, I'm 6 feet tall. Let's just put it out there. Yeah, so it's a lot easier. But if you enjoy basketball, I would think that, you know, that can sort of transition. And by the way, if the Masters CrossFit Games has wall balls and you kill it, you're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow. You're tall. Okay. Yeah. And wait, I have to ask you this then. Is your husband, is he tall as well?
He's tall, yes. He's taller than me, yes.
Okay. Because this might bring up a discussion for some people. My good friends, like, I play basketball with them. They're 6 feet, they're 6'2", they're 6'4", like, and they're having a tough time dating because they're like, one, I have to find a guy that's taller than me, you know, and so like, and then it brings up the controversy. Some people are like, oh, why do they have to be taller? And they're like, well, I just, like, so anyway, so yeah.
There's this whole thing around it. I think at the end of the day, I actually never looked for like how tall the person was. I'm very much like, it depends how you carry yourself.
Right.
It's really one of those things. But I also think that you always want what you can't have. Yeah. I wonder what it's like to be shorter, just like you move beautifully, like when you're lifting, everything's snappier, you know, things like that. I'm like, oh, I think if I was shorter, I think my lifts would look nicer. Little things like that, but ultimately it boils down to you always want what you can't have. It's one of those things.
It's the grass is always greener. I always wanted to be taller for basketball. I like see pictures and I like, you know, when you're out there, I feel the same height as everybody. And then I'm like, oh my God, they're like a foot taller than me. But, you know, but yeah, definitely like size does help with like lifts, like getting under, pulling yourself under. So there are things that favor tall people.
Yes, 3, but yes.
Well,
there aren't that many. Okay, go for it.
Wall balls,
Yeah.
Rowing,
Yes.
running.
Running, yeah, and I would say rowing with all other machines. So that's
Okay,
one.
okay, yes, okay.
Yes. So
Oh,
anything else?
I'm gonna say rope climbs.
Yes. Okay. This I agree with. So the thing is when you're taller, you tend to be heavier. Tend
Okay,
to, right?
right,
So
right,
that might kind of counter the rope climbs. I think it depends, but the machines, obviously, taller, heavier,
right. You
amazing.
can move.
Wall balls, yeah, that sort of
Okay,
thing. But I think
wait, there's
there's
one more.
another one. I think
Okay.
running for sure, like your strides,
Oh yeah,
completely.
yeah. There's
Yeah.
one. Wait, it's a CrossFit movement.
Well, I said
But
three. Those are three for me. Are you
oh,
thinking of another
oh,
one?
okay, okay. Oh no, I thought I was missing one. Okay, okay.
I can't think of another one, but ultimately, I was thinking about this during the open, like when they announced workout one, workout two, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is a short people's workout, but I can't think about that. I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
so easy to make excuses in CrossFit. Like, no matter what, no matter how much you weigh, how tall or short you are, there's always going to be pros and cons to each workout. So I
yeah.
try to just get that out of my mind and say, just do it.
Right. Which
And
is the
whatever
best way to
you
do it.
can, yeah, just do it. Do the best you can do. Try to maximize any sort of strength and move on.
Totally.
Right?
Totally. Yeah, like a couple things with that. I think one of the biggest questions I always get from people when they talk about competing, they're like, there's no weight classes? And I'm like, no. Like, and they're like, that's crazy. I'm like, yeah, but I think that's what's so interesting and kind of cool about our sport is that there aren't, like you aren't in this category with everyone that weighs the same as you, like gymnastics
Completely.
and weightlifting and running, everybody's in the same boat. But then also, like, when we bring up that, it's very interesting to me, like, these high-level athletes, like, to see that they still, like, to talk to them and have them say, like, this isn't my strength, or I have a weakness, or I'm like, oh, man, like, I get it. I have so many weaknesses. And,
Yeah.
like, to be doing it for so long, and, like, these women and men at a high level, but to hear them say, like, oh, this working my weaknesses, I'm like, I mean, which is probably far, like, greater than everybody else's, but it's still to them, like, you know what I mean, a weakness. Like, this sport is so humbling because you can never master or be so great at everything where you don't need to work on anything. So
Yeah, and I love that you say that because I find that fitness is such a moving target. So whether you're at my level or your level, right,
yes,
there's always something that you're working on no matter what. So you're
right,
constantly trying to get to where you need to be. And when you think you're there, you're not there because you got to get faster, you got to get stronger. There's always something, which I
yeah.
really like about this sport, but I think it can turn a lot of people off too.
Yeah, I'm like currently going through it. I think like
Tell me, what are you going through
oh
right now,
man,
Jamie?
girl. Oh, like I started this journey with just like who I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't even think I'm good enough to make the top 200 in my age group, or the top 40 to go to masters. And then like I had that turnaround moment where I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, let's really do it, And so I dove in and like was like believe in myself. Like I can't do this without believing in myself. So then I was feeling good, and then open quarters, semis, age group, semis, individual, and I got smashed at obviously the semifinals, and I think that kind of like broke my confidence, one, and two, like it kind of somewhere in the journey, I think maybe just because it was so much all at one time, and like I'd been out for 6 years, and to go back into the fire of like competition, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. But somewhere along the journey, it went from like, wow, I get to work out to, oh, I have to, like, when you're working on your weaknesses, like it's hard. It sucks to come into the gym and like work on all the things you're bad at and like still be bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like to struggle through those. So I think I'm like really having to like change my mindset. Like, no, this is a blessing. Like you still, even if it's a weakness, you're not great at it, you still get to do it. You still are working on it. You know what I mean? So I really have to turn my mindset around.
Which is hard. You're human, and at the end of the day, what I'd love to tell you is that people like me look at people like you being in awe, right?
Yeah.
Like you're always someone's like person that they look up to. And whilst you may not see it because you're looking up, if you kind of look down, there's a million different people looking at you like, oh my God, she's incredible, you know?
Yeah, like I think like after semis, like I finished, like in my mind I was like, I think the biggest thing was I was afraid of failure, and I'm like, okay, like going into it, I was like, at the CrossFit Games, I got last in one event and second to last in another one. So I was like, I've been there before. I know what it feels like. It's not the end of the world, but it does suck, you know? And like coming out of that, like 38th out of 40th, you know what I mean? Just, to me, like, that's so, like, to me in my mind, like, that's kind of like a failure. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't do great. So like when I come back to my gym and everyone's like, you did amazing. We're so proud of you. Oh my God. I was like, I did terrible, you know? And like, it's just mindset and perspective, you know what I mean? I guess with all like this, like I do have to find this like grace to give myself, like, you know, out of like 6 years off and going back into things and like just dealing with injuries and doing an extra qualifier 2 weeks before and all these things like that, like, you know, I have to give myself a little bit of grace, like that's okay. And you know what I mean? At the end of the day, like, I think the thing that stuck out to me was like my people and my, you know, like family, friends, like supporters, they don't care how I did. Like, they were so happy to see me out there, like first or last most of the time, but they were like so supportive and like, and that's like what means so much to me, you know, like that. Yeah. So anyways, it's been a quite a season so far.
Well, that being said, what are you hoping for with regards to two things? One is this training period between now and the Masters CrossFit Games and the Masters CrossFit Games. What is it that you're hoping for yourself? And it's not necessarily a goal. It might be a feeling, for example.
Right. I had a talk with my coach, Matt Brand from Golden Line Training. He's literally the best, like so supportive. You think of a coach, like I can't think of anyone better for me. Like, and he really is like, you know, coming off of that was a lot. And I just needed time because like my body feels terrible. Like, you know what I mean? It took a long time. I was just like tired and I exhausted it and just, and he's like, how are you feeling? And I'm like, oh, like I'm getting there, you know? And he's like, okay, like we kind of just laid it out till September. And he's like, you know, in the next 45 days or so, we're going to like build, you know, like kind of more bodybuilding, a little bit more aerobic capacity, aerobic power, because we were doing that a lot in the beginning. And then we'll like ramp up the intensity and take down the volume a little bit, but we need to go hard, you know, as we get a little bit closer to there. And he's like, and it's really up to you. Like, he's like, if you want to go and like just go out there and like do the best you can and see where you end up, like I think you can finish like top 20 or 25, you know what I mean? Like, but he's like, it's going to be up to you if you want to like you'll know if you want to go for it and like try to make the top 10 or, you know, like, I mean, it's going to be really tough. Like, even to make the top 20 is going to be like, these are 40 fit women, you know, that are so dedicated and so talented and skilled. And I don't know. And I think when I went to semis, like, it was very interesting. I don't know if I had been out the game for so long or you know what I mean? I was kind of in literally survival mode. I haven't competed in a long time, but like when I was out there and the other women, you know, if they're catching up normally, like back in the day, I would try to chase them down. You know, I'm like, no, they're not going to be me. But out there, I was like, focus on yourself, just get your work done. I don't care where I finish. I don't care who beats me. I don't care. Like, just get it done, you know? And so I think for me, I have to like sit and reflect of like, do I have that competitive drive in me still? Was you know what I mean? Or was I just that time and like the combination of everything thrown together that I just physically couldn't? Like, I know at the very end, like I physically couldn't lunge anymore. Like, I went till failure, you know, and had to go back. So, I mean, I think it's like, I'm going to really kind of try to get back to like enjoying my training and kind of just where I'm at in my life, like, where I end up is where I end. Like, obviously, I'm gonna push and do the best I can, you know. But I don't know. We'll have to see, you know, if I like am going for it, or if I'm like I'm gonna go do the best I can, you know, which I will do regardless.
Yeah. And have you ever thought about why you do this sport and why you compete?
That's a good question because it is very hard. Yeah, and I actually, which is really funny, I've given a couple like you know, like public speeches to like different groups of like a really awesome women's conference for a high school girls district or a high school district for all girls in sports, and I always talk about your why. Like, it's always going to go back to your why, you know, like why you do anything. And I guess I never really asked myself or thought about that. I think my why this time around is like, I wanted to see like what I still had left in me. I think I got to a place of like being stagnant and just like kind of going with things. But I'm like, you're a competitor. You play basketball. Like, it'll always be in you, you know? And I wanted to see like, as I age up and being out of the sport for so long, like, what am I made of? Can I still do this? And so, yeah, I think that's kind of why I'm kind of doing it. And now, like, to have like I feel like with my coach, I like can't like I'm not gonna let him down. I like to have actually like somebody like who cares about you and is putting so much time and effort, and like yeah, I just will do whatever they say. Like as athletes, you do whatever your coach tells you and like do the best you
Yeah.
can. So
Yeah, I love your why, and it's so subjective, right? Like your why may be different to my why and all those things, but I think when it comes to certain things that scare me in life, I don't know about you, but I tell myself, when I'm 80, will I
yeah,
regret not doing this? Or will I look back at my life and be like, I'm so proud of myself that I did this and I had
right.
whatever the result was, I still had a good time because I'm happy I did it.
Right, and I think that was kind of like semifinals. Like when I was like, do I go, do I not? And even the games, I'm like, do I go, do I not? Like it comes. People have always said like, are you gonna regret not going? Are you gonna like, when you look back on things, are you gonna wish like, dang, I should have done it, And I was like, oh, absolutely, like just go, and like,
Yeah.
but I think how you said like enjoying it and like having fun, like I don't care. I was in last in a lot of events, but I was like, man, this atmosphere to be here, like to even be like going down, like like getting announced and things like that. That's something like especially you can't take for granted. It's so
Yeah.
hard to make it, and like so I was like, you know what? I'm almost proud that I got 38. Like I'll say that proudly. So yeah, I was that kind of like helped out a lot too, like enjoying it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, let me ask you this. What was your why when you were playing basketball?
I loved it so much. I like it. It just is like they talk about your first love. Like it is my first love. It like I eat, breathe, sleep basketball. Like I can go do it. You know what I mean? Like I would go like to practice. I would go practice on my own. You can like work on your shot. I would like just wanted to like I loved out of pure joy and love for the game.
Yeah.
And that's what it was, and that's what was interesting getting into CrossFit. People ask like, do you love it so much? Or were you just kind of good at it? Is that why you did it? And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, obviously it won't stack up to basketball. Like it'll, you know what I mean? But like the commitment, the dedication, like I started playing basketball at the age of 4. 4 all the way through like high school, college, professional, overseas, and like till I was basically like 28, 30, 20 or something around there. And so like CrossFit, it's been 13 years. I started at the end of 2011. So it's been a long time, and but it does follow the same. Like if you love it so much, you set your goals, like you put in the work. Like one thing I love is like Kobe always talks about like it's not the destination, it's the journey, and like it doesn't matter where you end up. It's like what you learn along the way, and like all those hard lessons and all those times like you're so disciplined to put in the work, not like caring what the results are. Like that's like what matters. That's what's important. So I really have
Yep.
enjoyed that in basketball and CrossFit, and it leads you to amazing opportunities.
That's the thing. What you just said in the last like 20 seconds is exactly why I created Growth to Mindset. And it's just about finding things in life. Obviously, we have a focus on health and wellness, but using that to propel you to the best version of you, no matter what the results are at the end, whether you got buffer, whether you got fitter, whether you're able to do a skill, like that's great. But ultimately, it's the person that you became whilst getting to that destination.
Yeah,
And that's the whole thing about growth to mindset, and why we
that's
also
amazing.
do like fitness events and corporate workshops and all those things. I don't want to just help companies grow. I want to help
Right.
people grow as well.
Totally.
And you just hit it on the head, and I love that you're saying that. I got goosebumps because
Ugh,
it's what I'm all about. And you can do it at any level, whether it's elite like you or just walking into a gym. You're better than like 99% of people on this earth just by walking into a gym and picking up a weight.
totally.
You know,
Absolutely.
it,
Yeah.
so whatever, it's all relative. And I really like that you said that. So thank you.
Have you
Thank you.
seen? I think you like probably have known Kara Lawson.
Oh
Her
yeah.
speech about I love like I just think that's so cool. Like like if you don't know, like go to YouTube, Google her speech to her team. She coaches at Duke. She's an Olympian, Olympic gold medalist, a WBA champion, and like but she talks about like doing hard things, right? You know, and it never gets easier. You just learn to handle hard better. And like that, those two things, that with the Kobe thing, I was like, that's why I'm doing this, you know? Like it is hard, but because it goes way past our sport of, like, for them basketball, for me CrossFit, life is hard. And like the older we get, I'm like really understanding that, you know what I mean? Like you just really, like, people are getting older, like our parents, my grandparents, like everybody, you know, and like real life hits, and you have bills, and you have, you know, when you're young and you're like, oh, this is great, you know, and like you're like, oh man, like, you know, and life is hard. And that's why I think it's so beautiful. Like the people that come to our gym, they're not trying to go to the CrossFit Games, but like, one, it's stress relief, but two, like, it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, you don't have to try to go to the CrossFit Games. They're doing hard things, and like that helps set them up to be able to handle life that's hard outside of the gym or whatever you're doing.
Completely. Oh, I love it. And so that being said, you know, what would you tell your younger self now looking back?
I think I was always so hard on like body image, you know what I mean? Like I think now, like being older and reflecting, and I just needed, like, you know, like I was so insecure, which I still am now. Like a lot of people, like, you know, think like, oh man, you're so confident, you're so, and I'm like, oh no, like it's very terrible. My self-talk is sometimes it's not great, you know. But like, yeah, really, it doesn't matter. Like, you know, at the end of the day, like what you look like and all that kind of stuff like that. It's just that. I think I would tell myself, like, believe in yourself. Like, that was huge later, like, in college, in CrossFit, in everything that I ended up doing or being able to accomplish. It was my confidence that I was lacking, you know what I mean? And that came from, like, insecurities and things like thinking that I don't deserve good things, or I'm not good enough. And, like, that really isn't the mindset that's going to get you anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, that'll get you, like, you know, like I think that you have to believe in yourself. And there was like specific instances, like, you know, in college I was only supposed to play, like, my senior year, the two there's a girl I always split time with. Like I always played really good defense, she played really good offense, so we would always split time. And so she was amazing, like her offensive skills were incredible. And then the number one point guard in the nation was coming in. So I was like, oh, okay, well, between the two of them, I'm not going to play at all, you know, but I really committed to like like, if I'm going to, you know, I worked my butt off that summer because I was like, if I'm going to go in for 2 minutes, I'm going to contribute the best I can to my team, you know? And like, I tell kids, I'm like, you never know. Like, unfortunately, one girl broke her hip, the other girl tore her ACL, and I was the only point guard on scholarship my senior year and had to play all 40 minutes. But even then, like, getting the time, I didn't believe in myself. And I was, you know, playing afraid to make mistakes and turning the ball over, and literally, like, my dad sat me down, my team sat me down, and like, my dad was like, you're putting so much pressure on yourself, like, go out there and have fun. And that goes back to my why, you know, like, yeah, I love basketball. I don't do it to, like, for my coach or, like, you know what I mean, for this, like, the Asian American community was so great and always supported me, you know, but it felt like a lot of pressure. But when I went back to my why and really had to dig in and believe in myself, like, it's the hardest thing to do, but once I was able to do that, then, like, again, it like, everything fell into, I was having fun again. So I would tell myself, like, be confident, believe in yourself, you know, but sometimes that comes with experience, and, you know, so.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting because I'd like to ask you this, which is, where do you think that narrative came from as a younger girl of not believing in herself?
It definitely comes from a couple things. Like, one, like, in an Asian American, like, household, and, like, you know, my sister weighs 100 pounds. Like, I'm 150, 55, 50, you know, been up to, like, 168, you know, and I'm just a physically bigger girl than, and so, like, growing up in, like, in an Asian American community, like, you know, I was never the ones that the boys liked, you know, like, yeah, and how much that plays into things, like, but I was like, oh, I never thought I was pretty, like, and, you know, and then, so anyway, so I think maybe, like, confidence came from, like, definitely, like, was lacking, because I was like, oh, yeah, like, I'm not skinny like my friends, I'm not pretty like my friends, you know, so I think a little bit of that. I think in Asian American cultures, like, you know, your parents, like, they're not very, like, emotional, you know what I mean? Like, I know they're so proud of me. I know they love me. I know that they want the best for me, but they don't, you know, it's not expressed a lot, you know? So to not hear that a ton, I think, like, you have to really like kind of just know it, you know. But sometimes like growing up, and when like for me, like I'm just a sensitive girl, like I like I words of affirmation mean a lot. So like when people say like I'm proud of you or you did a great job, I'm like, wow, really? Like, you know, so I think it's like kind of learned along the way where I was like, oh man, like, okay, good. I don't need attention from guys to think that I'm beautiful. I don't need people to validate like you are good or you are, you know. I was like, so it's just like things like that. That's where I think it kind of came from. But like being older, a great thing is learning like, okay, like understanding it and then working on it and then applying it going forward. So
Completely. And I'd like to ask you this as well, which is
yeah,
because you're so open about the way you see your body, which I love, and that people like me completely look up to as well, because we all have, whether it's every day or some days, some kind of narrative that isn't the nicest when it comes to what we see in the mirror.
yeah.
Um, what is it that you like about your body?
Oh gosh.
It can be hard.
Oh,
It can be.
it's so
When you ask
hard.
someone this, it's very interesting. I ask because sometimes it's hard to point out what you like about you, but it's so easy to point out what you like about other people. So I
Oh,
feel like if you direct that love towards yourself,
right,
it
right,
might
right.
help. So what is it that you like about your body?
Oh, okay. Uh, I mean, physically, it allows me to do amazing things. You know, like at
Yes.
39 years old, like to be able to push it and still get into the gym and do things. And like, yeah, there's little aches and pains here, but for the most part, to be
Yeah.
able to like stay healthy to go compete, like I love that. Physically, I don't know. I guess like I have like like decent quads and calves, I
There you
guess.
go.
But
More than decent.
yeah, so maybe that, I guess.
It's
We'll
hard,
see.
huh? I often ask myself like when I'm 80 and I'm like
Yeah.
I can't, hopefully it's 90 when I can't move, 90 plus.
Right,
Hopefully
right,
actually
right.
110 plus where I'm in bed and I can't move. Would
Yeah.
I even care what my body looked like throughout the
Yep.
different seasons in my life? I
Right.
think I'd focus more on how I felt. Was I dancing? Was I
Yeah.
feeling happy walking
Yeah.
or surfing or like, I think I'd focus more on the feeling. And I guess this feeling now, and you touched upon it, is you feel strong.
Yeah.
Like it enables you to do so many amazing things.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to always, I guess I'm gonna coin this the grandma mentality of like, when I look back at my life, what was important?
Oh, absolutely. I think also when you say that, like, I always try to remember, like, 2 years from now, like, even a year from now, like, I'm gonna look back and be like, dang, I look good. Like, why was I so hard on myself? Like, 5 years, you know, 5 years down the line, or even when I look back at pictures, I was like, I hated my body, or I was so harsh on myself. And I looked great back then, and I wish I could look like that now. You know what I mean? So I think it's like really understanding like the presence and like appreciate where you are now, because yeah, like you said, when you get down there 2 years, 5 years, 20, 30 years down the line, like you're gonna be like, man, I look great, I was killing it, you know.
Yeah,
Okay,
you'll
but
probably be like, I was banging.
okay,
Like, what
so
was I thinking?
yes. Okay, so you have to answer, what do you love about your body physically?
Um, okay, there are two things. I've tried to think about this. One is I look exactly like my dad. So that's one thing that
Oh,
I
that's
love.
nice. Okay, that's nice.
Um, I'd say I like I like my shoulders. They're the first things that develop. My
Okay.
lower body just does its own thing, but my upper body tends to tends to shape up. So I'd say I like that. But obviously, I'm always like, oh, but I prefer this, but I prefer that.
Yeah.
It's just like one of those things. A lot of people preach about neutrality instead of body positivity, and I'm
I
just
like that.
like, maybe that's what it is. Like, because it's so hard to say I like this or I like that about my body. Maybe you just have to not care. It's just, it is what it is,
Yeah, I
right?
think it's a very interesting thing because, like, you talk about like being cocky and like, you know what I mean. You don't want to come off like that. No one likes people like that, you know. But confident. But sometimes, like when I see people and they're so confident in themselves, like I think one time what happened was I got asked to do a like this BuzzFeed. It was like a female athletes like pose in Victoria's Secret model, like so they a bunch of different athletes from all different shapes and sizes. We all like put on like the lingerie, and they like had what I mean, and just to feel comfortable and sexy in our own skin, and there was this woman who, oh my god, the way that she like carried herself and loved herself and was proud of every part of her body, I was like, that is so cool. Like that, like it really sticks out to this day. I'm like, how cool is that? Like, she's so proud of her body. I was like, dang, that's amazing, So I like always try to like keep that in mind, even though I'm having a hard time. If I can be proud of something, like maybe it encourages someone else to be like, yeah, you know what? I do look great. Like, or I think this about myself, So it is like this like weird push and pull kind of thing.
Completely. And I'm as we're talking about this, I'm thinking about different regions, and I remember looking at Torian Pro, and the program that I follow is actually big down under. It's called STAR, double R program. My coach is Luke Starr. I've been with them for 3 years. They do a lot of the Torian Pro athletes. And I remember meeting some of them at Wadapalooza, and we met face to face. I'm so used to seeing some of their videos online and seeing, leaderboard results and all that stuff. They're big.
Yeah.
They're big, and I know I'm big, and I'm looking, I remember telling them, you guys, it's so nice to see someone kind of look like you.
Yes.
Yes. You know what I mean? And they're just bigger girls. Like, they're just built different, and I love it. And you see so many returning moms as well down under. I don't know if you noticed, it was last year, this year, and I'm just looking at that region and I'm thinking it's really nice to see diversity.
Oh yeah.
It's not that you have to look a certain way. It's just, and even talking to them, they seem so much more accepting. They're like, yeah, my body can do cool shit. And that's it. It just stays there. And I'm just like, that's cool. Amazing.
Yeah.
Like, what is it about us that we're constantly like, okay, my body can do cool shit, but it doesn't look this way. So I need to make it look this way. But then when you make it look that way, your body can't do cool shit as much anymore.
Yeah, totally.
So I don't know. I don't know if you saw that as well with the difference in the region, but I just loved it. I love watching people in Australia compete.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and they're fantastic athletes, and to have that mentality and mindset, and just to see, so much diversity. I always say that representation matters, and like if one person identifies with you, like for the way you look or the way that, something you do or something that's something similar to them, then they see themselves in your shoes, and you really give them hope that one day, like if they want to do this, like you can do it, So I think that's so important.
I love it. I just want to see diversity. It's like listening to the same playlist again and again with the same music genre. You don't want that. You want some hip hop. You want some EDM. You want some R&B. Like you want, it's just so that everyone can kind of just feel represented in a way. It's the same thing. And I don't know. I just really like it. But that being said, we talked a lot about CrossFit. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on the sport itself. Because even what you guys are doing competing wise, from the open up, it was very different last year to this year. I did quarterfinals last year and this year, and it was very, very different. Weights, movements, that sort of stuff. So this sport is obviously going in a certain direction, and I'd love to get your thoughts on that direction.
I think because I have been around for like quite some time. I think my first open was 2012. And so like 2012 through probably 2018, it was kind of like about the same, right? It was open straight to regionals, right? And so like that was a whole different ball game where it was like, that's why I was like, why do I get so stressed out about the open? And I was like, oh, that's right, because the open does matter, because you need to go straight to to regionals, which is now the semifinals. But now with the structure of open, quarters, semis, and then the games, it adds another layer to there. I do think I love that the open is community based. I love having day back, and I think that they hit it on the mark. Like, I own a gym. Like, I want people to feel like, if they throw a bar muscle, I mean, yeah, they have before, but like, if you put movements in there that everybody can do, the fittest are still going to make it to the next stage. Like, but it feels a little more inclusive and makes it easier for people to run at their affiliates. It's really nice too. And then the next stage of that is like, okay, cool. I think we progressively get a little bit harder, a little more skills and things like that. So I actually kind of like the way that it was set up this year.
Yeah, and I totally understand where you're coming from. I tend to agree with it. I think maybe for you guys know that you can go far into the season, so you'll get maybe the CrossFit that you prefer further in the season.
Right.
Whereas for me, it stops at quarterfinals. So what I call the CrossFit that I love, higher skills, higher weights, all that stuff, even stuff that literally are so hard for me, I would much rather do versus something, that everyone can do. So it's a little hard. I feel like no matter what, someone's going to have something to complain about. No one's ever going to be happy.
Right. And I agree. I do see that side of things where it's like, oh man, like I would love to do some of the semifinal stuff in quarters, you know what I mean? Because it is like still to go from open to quarters and still kind of have like the people who are just fit can do it even if you don't have any skills of CrossFit. Like that, I understand that too. So it's a tough job, and I don't envy the people that have like.
That's the thing, exactly. It's so easy to be sitting here and saying, "Oh, this should be done, that should be done," blah blah blah, or I think this. But ultimately, when you're running it, and it's a young sport, and there are a lot of people involved who love this sport, it's really hard to please everyone. But where my mind is going is, I'm wondering whether, to appease everyone, we should somehow, and this goes against the identity of CrossFit, but to somehow separate elites from like your average CrossFitter, because it's a different sport, I think. So to sort of separate those, but then you take away the fun of everyone doing the open together, and that the elites are doing the same, you see their score. It's so hard. So I don't know.
I know. It's a tough thing, and I think any way they go with it, everyone's gonna have love it, and some people are gonna hate it. You know what I mean? You can't please everybody, and you kind of just have to do what you think is best for the sport and what's gonna I mean, at the end of the day, the fittest people, like you talk about how tough they were on reps, and no reps this year, and people were like, well, it's no different. Like that's happened for years, and so it's just like. No one's ever going to really be happy, but you just do the best you can to get the fittest people where they need to be.
Exactly. And we're going to end on a lightning round. I always like to do this. Are you, a lot of people get really nervous, but you're like, oh, yay. You are happy-go-lucky, chill. Yeah, okay, whatever. No stress.
I'm very indecisive, but I'll try my best.
Okay, try your best to answer as quickly as possible. That way the indecisiveness can just sort of stay away. Let's try that.
Got it.
All right, so first question is, what are your 3 non-negotiables in your day?
Working out, sleep. I do need sleep, even during the day with naps. And good food. Like a sweet treat.
I love that. You're actually the first person who hasn't said caffeine or coffee.
Oh, really?
Are you like, oh wait, I need 4?
No, because I don't need it. I think it's a bad habit. I love cream and sugar and this much coffee. So I don't really need it. But but my sweet tooth, maybe that counts as a sweet tooth.
Well, that being said, the next question is, what's your favorite meal?
Oh, I would probably. It's tough between Japanese, Italian, Mexican, but maybe.
Woohoo! You thought about this. You're like, I know.
No, I just know my favorite foods. And then there's desserts too. I would probably go like a machaca, shredded beef burrito, smothered in bread sauce, guac and chips and salsa,
cheese. Yeah. Oh my god!
All over the top. Okay.
Oh my god! Okay, you're my type of girl. Okay. Yes. So, what's your favorite CrossFit movement?
I like cleans, squat cleans.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's it's not as technical as snatch, which I do
Yeah.
like those too. But I don't know. I just like I think they're fun, and my legs. The things I like about my body are my like quads and my calves. So like you get to use those. So yeah, cleans.
There you go. Well, that being said, what's your least favorite CrossFit movement?
Oh, deadlifts. So easy. Lightning round.
Ooh, why?
Because I have all quads and no hamstrings and glutes.
No.
So that's what we're working on all summer is deadlifts. I hate them.
Oh my God. Okay. I completely understand. Okay. Last question. Do you have a goal for this year outside of CrossFit for yourself?
Oh, I need to make some money, girl.
Yeah.
I need to like everyone like I know it's like this thing where it's like, oh man, just do what you're passionate about, you love, you know what I mean? But like living in Southern California, and the older I get, I'm like, it is crazy to buy a home here. Like I would love to be able to, like, I went to my buddy's, like, this is so like off the wall, like off topic, but I went to his open house because he had an $8.2 million house on the market, and I was like, let me go.
Oh wait, I saw this
like.
on your Instagram. Didn't you get the price wrong or something?
Yeah, I said
By like,
yeah, I was like 8.6, same thing. But yeah, he just posted. So he just posted today. He's like multiple cash offers at 8.2. I was like, this is crazy. Like, where do these people do this? So like, I think like there's so many different definitions of success, and like I don't base my happiness and success off of money. Like I never have. It's like being happy in what I love to do, and family and friends and all that good stuff. But a little bit of money would be nice to live in Southern California.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the reality of things. You need money to live, and you need to feed yourself, and you eat a lot because you work out a lot, and you have big dreams. So yeah, you need money.
Oh my God, we get it. You get it. Yeah, I hate to say that, but yeah.
Well, it's a good goal, and I hope you achieve it this year and every year.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. You've been such a pleasure. I really enjoyed our talk. Thank you for being open too. There were some tough questions in there. And I really hope to see you in person soon.
Yes, I know. You're welcome anytime. Torrance Training Lab. Anyone is welcome to come.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you. Yeah, I hear it's a beautiful facility. I have a few friends who have been.
And I have a basketball hoop, so we'll get some shots up.
Oh my God. Okay, I'll try and block you. I'll try.
Yes. You just gotta stand with your hands up.
Yeah. I'll just do one hand for you. All good. A bit of a sign of respect.
That's so funny.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you so much. I had such a great time.
Thanks.
Thank you.